How many of you have a plan to support your new teachers? That's right. I said, how many of you have a plan to support your new teachers? Have you ever thought about the struggles a new teacher has? That's right. The struggles a new teacher has. You forget about the time when you were a new teacher? If you know you need to focus on your new and your novice teachers, you're in the right place. If you have a plan to develop your novice teachers into master teachers, you're in the right place. You say, wait a minute, Dr. Pope, develop our novice teachers into master teachers? Why, my goodness, we have some teachers who have been here several years and they're still not master teachers. And you're asking me if I can develop my novice teachers and my new teachers into master teachers? That's right. That's absolutely right. If that's what you need to do, you're in the right place. Tonight, what we're going to be looking at will be one of the 7 most powerful pillars to produce a high quality school. And one of those pillars is to create a master teacher. Now, we want to welcome you to our episode of Principals on the Come Up, where we transform schools into hallelujah success stories. That's right. My name is Dr. Barbara Polk, and I'm known as a turnaround principal. I was assigned to one of the lowest performing schools in the state of Texas. That's right, the big state of Texas. And of course, it was the lowest performing. And I say not of course, because I mean, there could have been other schools in the same position. But it was also the lowest performing school in the district. We turned that school around, my team and I, within a year's time. After I was there as principal of that school, turned that school around and never went back. I was later assigned by the Texas Education Agency to go into low performing schools that have been designated by the state of Texas to get those schools turned around. And we do have some hallelujah success stories out there. I was also chosen by the Harvard Graduate School of Education to go and be a part of their Urban School Institute. Yes, I did have the opportunity to walk the Appian Way. And I also found that there are not only schools in the United States that have problems with getting our children to excel, but it happens throughout the world. Everybody has the same kinds of problems. And we were able to work as a group to get those problems solved so that we could help others. Because really, you know, it is not fair. It is not fair for our schools of color, our rural schools, or the schools that are in need of assistance, not to have the opportunity to turn those schools around. Especially in light of the changes that we have recently gone through with COVID-19 and with the new dimension that's called the learning loss or the learning lag, where so many places have been designated to make sure that they do things extra to make sure that our students get what they need. Now, you know the old saying, if you keep on doing the same thing you've always done, you're going to get the same thing. So if we as principals, as teachers, as instructional coaches, continue to do the same thing, even with this learning loss, even with this additional time of instruction, we are not going to see a change. Once we decide that we want our children to excel, we cannot go back to teaching them the same way that we taught them before the learning loss, pre-pandemic. The thing that I want to talk to you tonight about, or today about, is our new teachers. We know that statistics show that the majority of the teachers that are in our urban schools, that are in our schools that are low performing, that are in our schools that are in need of assistance, that the majority of the teachers there have high turnover rate, simply because they don't get everything that they need in those schools. And it is my responsibility to help you principals to help you assistant principals, instructional coaches, lead teachers to turn that around. I believe our children have the right to a great education. It doesn't matter where they live. It doesn't matter whether they're poor. We have top-notch everything in our schools. All we have to do is know how to use it. And if we change our mindsets about the teachers that we have, our new teachers, our novice teachers, change that attitude that they can become master teachers, we will always get what we always got. So there are three things I want to do to help your new and your novice teachers to become master teachers. And you know, if we can help our new and novice teachers become master teachers, oh, we do with those who have been there for a while, who just need that opportunity. Number one, the new or novice teacher, if you are training them, if you are mentoring them, you have to instruct them that they have to start where the students are. Start where the students are. We're not looking for excuses. We're not looking for ways that we can continue to talk about the learning loss. Let's look at our students' strengths instead of their deficits. There are lots of things that our students can do, but we focus on the deficits. And as long as we focus on the deficits, that's what we're going to have. Of course, we know that there is some intervention that needs to be had, but let's focus on what they do know, not on their deficits. The other thing that is so critical is behavior. Okay, let's just look at them where they are. Let's see what they bring. And if you're the principal, if you're the instructional coach, it is incumbent upon you to have strategies to assist your new and novice teachers. Do you remember when you were a new teacher? Hey, Felicia, good to see you. Felicia, oh my goodness, the story there. Felicia was my secretary, was my administrative support when we were turning schools around. Felicia was one who would always be able to read what was going on with the teachers. And she was one who would say, okay, Doc, it's time to give them a break. It's time to give them a break. That is just how we operated. She was an important part of turning the school around, along with others in that school. But let's remember that you can't do this by yourself, principals. You cannot turn a school around by yourself. Hey, Shakeed, good to see you. You can't turn the school around by yourself. You have to have, if you're dealing with your new, your novice teachers, you have to have some type of behavior plan. You cannot send your new and your novice teachers into those classrooms and expect them to just start teaching like they're teachers who have been teaching for years. You have to be able to help them. You have some of your teachers who are not novice teachers, who don't have anything in their bag of tricks to deal with behavior. So can we help our new teachers? Can we help our novice teachers? Can we help those permanent substitute teachers? You know, you may have a permanent substitute teacher who is just there waiting to pass a test. That just may be the issue. Do we take making teachers into master teachers so lightly? Do we think that it's not possible because they're teaching in a school of color? Or they're teaching in a school that's low performing? Is that the mindset we should have? I say no. Start where the students are. Focus on their strengths instead of their deficits. Be aware of their behavior. You know the things that you need to be aware of with students' behavior. Prepare your novice and your new teachers for that. And then allow flexibility while maintaining control. I mean, when that new teacher or that novice teacher is in that classroom, there has to be some control. At the same time, you have to allow for flexibility. Is that a skill to develop? Absolutely, that's a skill to develop. But that new teacher will not be able to develop that skill without your help, without your focus. Principal, assistant principal, instructional coach. Number 2, know where the students are going. Know where they're going. You've done all of your research. You've gone over all the material. You see where our children lack, where they need strength, where they need support. So know where they're going. Connect the standards to their learning. And in the midst of this so-called learning loss, we know that there are things that our students absolutely have to know. And there are other things that it would be a good idea if they knew this. Know the standards. Connect the standards to learn. Instructional coach, do those new teachers or those novice teachers know how to dissect those learning standards? Do they know why they're teaching what they're teaching? If you ask one of them, well, why are you teaching this? Well, because it's a part of the standards. Well, why did they put that into the standards? Well, because it's going to be on the test. Well, why is it on the test? Well, I guess so the campus can be rated. You have to be able to talk to your new and your novice teachers, and they have to understand why they're teaching what they're teaching. Not just that it's a good idea or that it is a part of the curriculum, and they have to follow it. Your novice teachers need planning time. Let me say that again. Your novice teachers need planning time. If you, Miss Principal, have not allotted enough time for your new or your novice teachers to plan, they need to be able to plan with your master teachers or with your experienced teachers. You can't just leave them out there. And oh my goodness, if you are in a rural area or if you are in a very small school district and lots of your new teachers have to teach several levels of math or several levels of ELAR, you are going to have to figure out a way for that new or novice teacher to get the support that they need. That is your responsibility. You were chosen to run that school. You have people around you who can help you. But please, please, for those novice teachers, get them the help that they need in planning. Then they have to know how to plan a rigorous unit. If they don't know how to plan a rigorous unit, they are just going to be teaching just straight from the book. And how boring is that? Students need to understand that things in the unit are important. They are rigorous. They need to apply it. They need to see it in action. They need to understand why they're learning this. And they need to be able to be taught how to have formative assessments. The new and novice teacher who you are preparing to be a master teacher has to be able to design formative assessments. They need to know what a formative assessment is. They need to know what to do with the results of a formative assessment. They need to come up with innovative ways to determine that the instruction that they're doing is good instruction. If they're seeing that once they use their formative assessment, that the students just don't get it, then that tells you, principal, that that teacher needs some assistance. They need some instructional assistance. They need training. And that's what we do. That's what our team does when we go into schools. We analyze, we ask questions. We don't walk into schools and say, you need to do this and you need to do that and you need to do that. We want to know, what do you think you need? And I know you don't have all the answers, but you have a good idea of what you need. You know the kinds of struggles that you have. And you know the struggles that you have now are not the struggles that just started yesterday. They're struggles that have been there for a while. I know, coming from a school that was low performing, and know that that school did not become low performing overnight. That school did not become low performing overnight. Hey, Ms. Miller, good to see you. That school did not become low performing overnight. We had to set expectations. We had to have a vision of mastery. We had to believe that these students could succeed. We had to come up with unique ways of teaching our children. We had to motivate the children. That's what we had to do. So you say, well, you know, Dr. Polk, I come to school to teach. You know, I don't come to school, to make a show. I don't come to school, to entertain these children. Sir, ma'am, it's not entertainment. It's making sure that our children are learning. So the third thing, expect to get students to their goal. You have to have a goal first. Our new or novice teachers, they have to see their students as having goals. You know, I received a telephone call from a teacher. I am the grandmother of an 8th grader. And the teacher called me out of frustration and said that my grandson was cutting up and he was distracting the class. And she was just frustrated. She stepped out of her class while this instruction was supposed to be going on to call me. Well, first of all, Miss Teacher, do you have a relationship with this child? Well, I guess not, because I have 2 sons, both in the 8th grade. One is Kevin and one is Devin. She called Devin Kevin. Kevin has an IEP. Devin does not. I asked the teacher, well, are you following his IEP? She said, oh, yes, I'm following his IEP. I said, now, which child is this? Oh, this is Devin. I said, ma'am, Devin doesn't have an IEP. So what does that tell you about setting goals for your students? If you don't even know which child has an IEP, if you don't even know the difference between Kevin and Devin, how are you going to set goals? How are you going to sit with those students and say, this is where you were at this point, and let's work to the next point? How are you going to do that? You have to expect to get students to a goal after you set the goal. And then you have to maintain high expectations. And that is the same about making teachers novice to master. That's just too much. You say, that's too much. That's too much. We got people been here for years that's not a master teacher. Well, have you asked the question, why? Do you even care? Do you have anything put in place for them to move to that level? Have you set that as a goal together? Does a teacher even believe that he can become a master teacher? And the same is true with our students. You have to maintain high expectations. After you set a goal, then have high expectations. And high expectations simply means that I don't think that I can make it, but with your help, I'll be able to make it. And this is when you are moving with your new teachers or your novice teachers, getting them to master teachers. Then, principal, you have to acknowledge where the teacher needs to improve. We're talking about new and novice teachers. And this can overflow into, teachers who have been there 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It can overflow to them too. Acknowledge where the teacher needs to improve. And, when you're doing this, you're not going to go and say you need to improve on direct instruction. You need to improve on group instruction. You need to improve on the way you manage your classroom. You need to improve. You cannot lump all of that at one time and expect to see all those things improve. Acknowledge where the teacher needs to improve one step at a time. One step at a time. Is this going to take some hard work? You betcha it will. You betcha it will. But if you expect your school to turn around, or if you expect your school to maintain its status, or if you expect your school to increase its status, it's going to take work. And what I'm going over with you tonight are just 3 things that you can use to move your novice or your new teachers to master teachers. Of course, you have so many things to do. That's understood. That's understood. But when you have 3 clear expectations that are simple, that are easy to manage, that are easy to assess, that can be the great beginning of taking your new teacher and transforming them into master teachers. What is the anatomy of high expectations? What is it? What is the anatomy? What does that look like? An anatomy of high expectations. What do you look for? You look for good instruction. You look for formative assessment. You look for intervention. You look for letting the children struggle. It's high expectations. And when you let them struggle, they understand that I have help moving to the next level. Once you show me that you understand. And once I see consistently that you are not understanding, then that's where the teacher needs to step in. That's where he needs to get more training. And that's what we do when we go into the schools. So as you look at creating master teachers on your campus by focusing on your new and your novice teachers, you can expect between 1 and 3 years to have your master teachers. So when you are working with them, they will know this is what I need to do in order to become a master teacher. You are focusing on their high expectations. And the beautiful outcome of that is they want to stay. They want to stay where you are as the principal because they know they get support. They are also going to be your biggest cheerleader. They're going to tell their friends, I'm at this school. They are helping me. I see my students growing. I didn't know what questions to ask. I was alone in that classroom. I had support from my mentor teacher. I had training that my principal provided. And then you'll become a hallelujah success story like our school was, where we had situations where teachers would come to work on Monday and on Friday wouldn't see them again. And that turned into teachers coming to our school in January because they heard that we were going to have a vacancy. They heard that. Why was that? because we acknowledged our teachers. We gave them the training that they needed. We helped them identify formative assessments and what to do with them. We recognized our new teachers as a struggling teacher. We made sure that our teachers had mentors. We provided training for behavior, for discipline. We learned how to connect the standards to learning. And when you can do that, then you can have a school that will be a hallelujah success story. I'm BarbaraRayPolk.com. Go to our website, and you can certainly get, our business model, and we can answer whatever questions you need answered, because we know that your school deserves the best. And we know that once we touch you, you never go back. You never go back. You become a hallelujah success story. See you next time.